Splendor Marvel. I was incredibly excited when I learned that this game existed because it puts together two of my favorite things. Splendor, which is one of my favorite games ever, especially in the category of light, tight strategy games, Eurogamey games, and the Marvel Universe, of which I am a big fan, especially the comics. The movies, some of them I like. This game is inspired clearly and mainly by the Infinity Gauntlet movies that I personally did not enjoy all that much, but that's just me. And if now those movies gave the publisher an excuse to give us a new version of Splendor with Marvel art on it, then I'm okay. That's what makes the movies better in retrospect. It gives them more meaning, at least to me. The game vastly overlaps with Splendor, so if you know that game, it's going to be very easy for you to learn this one. But on top of having art inspired by Marvel characters and featuring Marvel characters, also has a couple of interesting mechanical ideas. It's a competitive game in which players are trying to forge the gauntlet. This style is a reminder that in order to win the game, you need to collect 16 victory points, have a discount in every category. If you know Splendor, you know what that means. And also you need to have collected a time gem. And this is something you probably don't know if you haven't played this game specifically, because it is not in the original Splendor. So the main heart of the game revolves around the token representing different types of gems here, and these are also the currencies that you will use to recruit heroes and villains alike. I guess when Thanos is coming, then you cannot be too picky. You just recruit whoever it is that you can recruit. The characters that you can recruit come from 3 decks. They are labeled as level 1, level 2, and level 3. The higher the level, the more expensive the card is to acquire, but also the more powerful it is. These cards have a cost, and that is indicated here. So for me to acquire She-Hulk, I need 3 yellow gems, 2 orange ones, and 2 purple ones. I need all of them to acquire Wanda Maximoff, 2 yellow, 3 blue, and 2 red. If the card has a number, that is the number of victory points that the card is worth it, and so you can see it can go from 0 to a lot more than that. Cards that come from level 3, they all have a time gem symbol on them, which means the first time you acquire a character from this category, you also take one of these tokens. So basically, it's just a reminder that you did acquire one of those and you did fulfill that requirement there. So in order to win the game, you need to acquire at least a character from tier 3. You also may have noticed that some of these cards have the Avengers symbol on them. So when you acquire these cards and you put them in your personal play area, the first player that has collected 3 Avengers symbols will take this tile here, which is worth 3 victory points, but it can be taken away, just like longest road and largest army. If somebody then has more Avengers symbols than you, then they take the tile away from you, and basically this tile gets into play the first time that somebody has 3, and then for the rest of the game it goes to whoever has the most Avenger symbols in their personal tableau. So, like in traditional Splendor, players will alternate taking turns, and during your turn you must perform one action. You can collect 3 tokens of 3 different colors, so that would be a legal move, and if this is my move, this is all I do for this turn. I put these in my personal supply. If you take 3 tokens, they have to be of different colors. Or, as your turn, you can take 2 tokens of the same color, but only if there were already at least 4 tokens in the pile. That means that if you take 2, at least 2 are left there, otherwise you cannot take that action. As simple as that. 3 different colors, or 2 of the same color with that restriction. Or you can reserve a card. If you're afraid that somebody's going to take a card from you, you simply, as your action for the turn, take it. set it aside, and you also take one of these tokens as a reward, because reserving a card is not all that great, and this simply counts as a wild token. You can use it to replace any of these other tokens here. Or, as your action for the turn, you can recruit a character, in which case you simply spend the corresponding tokens and you take the character and you put it in your personal area, and characters that are acquired are immediately replaced. The characters that you recruit also provide discounts. So when you recruit the characters, you're going to put them in sets like this based on the kind of discount that they provide. So for example, you have a discount for blue, a discount for orange, and 2 discounts for yellow. That simply means that these are costs then you don't have to pay anymore. So if, for example, now I was to recruit Shuri and have these cards, I need to spend 3 orange tokens, 2 blue tokens, but only 1 yellow, because these cards provide me with those discounts. And that, again, is quite and exactly pretty much the same as in the original game. So the actions remain the same. Really, what has changed here is the obligation of having a character from this tier here. The fact that you need, in order to win, to get at least a character from each category, providing you with a discount for each category, so you cannot specialize in just one color. And again, very, very important, the style here. Similarly to what you have in the original game, you also have these styles. In the original game, these are special patrons that you're calling to your gem store. These are locations. You select a number of them randomly. They're double-sided, so also the side is selected randomly. And simply, if at the end of your turn you have the required number of discounts indicated there, say 4 yellow for blue or 3 of these colors here, then at the end of your turn, as a free action, after you perform your action, you can also take one of these styles and you add it to your personal area, and that provides you with those extra points. First player to meet all of these requirements here takes the tile, and then you finish the round. Everybody needs to have the same number of turns. If the player then meets these requirements first and takes the tile as the last player, then at the end of the turn, the round is over, the game is over, the player wins. There's a possibility that somebody takes the tile, and then as other players are taking their turns, if the 16 points was achieved by having this style, then the style is taken away from them, and then they also lose this one here. I haven't seen that happen yet, but it could happen that somebody takes away the victory tile from you, and maybe they take it because now they meet the requirements, or they simply remove it and it goes back there until somebody has all of these requirements, takes the tile, and keeps it until everybody has had the same number of turns. And at that point, the player that owns this tile, because they fulfilled all of these conditions, wins the game. What a marvelous and splendid game. I love it. I love the original Splendor, and this one has all of the things that I like in that game, plus some more. I think that on one hand, it may look like Victory is now more scripted, but I think that really there is value in the fact that the game forces you to get more diversity, to expand in different directions. So instead of having just one path to victory, you have to cover all 5, but the order in which you do it is different, because now you need to be sure that you have a discount in every category. And although the game doesn't add any mechanics in which you directly attack the opponent, it seems to me that it gives the players more opportunity for indirect interaction. One thing is, now you can gang up against the leader because the leader has 25 points, but is still missing that discount in the category, so they cannot force the gauntlet quite yet. And so players can just try to do their best to prevent the opponent, prevent the leader from getting that discount. So it's more structured that way, And again, it's easier at a glance to see how you can more easily hurt the opponent. It can be done to a degree with the original Splendor if you really look at everybody's tableau, paying a lot of attention, which I am forced to do because during game night I play with mathematicians because I love paying that way. But you have to do a lot more work. Here, at a glance, you can clearly see, oh, wait a second, that player, we should not allow that player to get red. And you can have a little bit of diplomacy. By the way, I played the game only with my daughters, not with my mathematical inclined friends yet because of COVID, because of quarantine. My daughters are now 8 and 10 and they love it. This is clearly a game that is simple enough that you can play with children and they have honest chances of winning. I don't have to pretend I don't have to play in any subpar way. They just beat me from time to time, and sometimes I win. And I have to say, with the incentive of the Marvel characters, although again the game is not incredibly different from the previous one, it is just more attractive if you plan to play, not just with nerds such as your friends and yourself and me, but also if you're planning to play it with younger players. Also, speaking of direct interaction, or not so direct, the tile with the Avengers that can change hands, that just adds that little extra of direct interaction and again of catching the leader mechanics. Because in the original game, it's very hard to catch up if you fall behind, if somebody has a better engine. And here the engine, well, it has to have more parts moving at the same time to really give you a lead and allow you to retain it easily. So it's entirely possible for somebody who is there very close to victory or literally has what they need to win. It's possible for the people to take away that by taking away the tile, and now from 16 they're down to 13 and the game continues. So there are more ways of catching up, there are more ways of having diplomacy and try to prevent a leader from running away with victory. I wouldn't say early on, but say in the last third of the game. So, what do we have here? Splendor, with all of the great stuff that we love from that fantastic game. Tight gameplay, simple, intuitive, yet so strategic, yet with so many different branching decisions. And at the same time, it improves on one thing that I did not complain about in the past because the game was good enough as it was, but then you realize, oh my gosh, it could be even better. So now what we have here is Splendor with all of the amazing stuff that Splendor already had, plus catch-up mechanics, plus more indirect interaction. In some groups, maybe the other version is better, which is more like a parallel race. This idea of more of a confrontation or confrontational elements among players may not work very well in every group, but even playing with younger players, they didn't find that confrontational element was too much. They didn't find that they couldn't take it. So in general, fantastic production values like we came to expect from Splendor. Really fun theme, beautiful mechanics, and really, really strong gameplay. I'm in love with Splendor, with Marvel Splendor, and I know my daughters also are. I think we're gonna play it again, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but we've been playing this one a lot, and I think this is gonna stay. This is gonna be a standing, recurring presence in our gaming events because it is just such a good game.